176 wins and 136 losses here over the past 169 days on the Daily Video Report with the free plays. Yes, 40 games over 500 with the complimentary plays, the ones I'm giving away here on the Video Report. Following Monday's split when I cashed in college basketball with California demolishing Davidson and then losing in the NBA as the Cavaliers continued their ATS slump and failed to cover at dysfunctional Phoenix. But today I've got 4 selections for you, 2 college bowl plays. My best bet happens to be the early game between North Carolina and Baylor. Love that game, but I also liked Colorado State, Nevada a hell of a lot, and have a strong opinion on the LSU Texas Tech game. So I'm going to give you those complimentary plays. Plus, in college basketball, 2 other games I considered, St. Louis and Kansas State, Baylor, and Texas Southern. And along the way, you will know, in case you happen to be on Jeopardy anytime soon, what Texas Southern's nickname is. Hell, I'll even tell you who the head coach is if you don't know. That's all coming up in just a moment. Listen, guys, there are 2 words as a gambler and a handicapper that you absolutely have to have stricken from your vocabulary. Cannot be part of your lexicon. First word is almost. And let me use it in a particular phrase as I put on my homepage today. I almost won last night's game with the Denver Broncos. Yes, you cannot have almost as part of your vocabulary. Denver yesterday, of course, early in the morning, 3.5, moving up to 4, bought down the half point. Almost won because they only won by 3. So that was a loser. Of course, if you're on Cincinnati, like Scott Delaney was, God bless you. Congratulations, you're a winner. You know, can't make the hand gestures and bounce the computer at the same time. It really does strange things to the camera, making it jump up all over the place. Almost makes me look I'm doing the video on a trampoline. Now, the other word that you have to strike from your vocabulary is retrospect. There is no room in this thing that we do and love called gambling to look back. Or maybe the cliche would be crying over spilt milk. That would be it, okay? Because in retrospect, if I was to look back yesterday, when I released that play on Denver, I saw the Broncos were 4. And for one split second, when I was buying down the half point, I thought, wonder if I should buy down a whole point, just in case. And listen, it wasn't like it was an earth-shattering number. You know, the difference was about 15 cents more I was paying. You know, most books, if you're going to pay, when you're buying down off of 4, you're going to pay $1.20 to $1.25. To buy from 4 down to 3, most books, you might max out at $150, $1.50. Well, hell, I bet $1.50 baseball favorites now and then. I have no problem with that. And you know how much I like, buying the half points when the line crosses 3, 4, 7, and sometimes 10. And not only do I like it, it's a wise financial strategy. As long as you're not one of these guys that's going to be betting 22 games on the card. If you're singling one game out, why not? And why you should, and why I should have really thought about it yesterday, something I've only done once or twice ever, and all the bets and all the plays I've ever had in my life. You know, I knew that was going to be a close game. I was hoping that Denver was going to win it by 6, maybe 7. But thinking about the game, I should have down ahead and bought the 1 point because I would have been walking away with the push today. Now, you guys may think it's crazy, but again, when you're betting $100 and an extra $15, maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe even extra $20 is making the difference between walking away with a push last night or walking away with the loss, to me, it's a no-brainer. To you, you may not agree, but hey, I'm just throwing it out there. Of course, the logic also implies, as I've told you many times, that last night, if you happened to be on the Cincinnati Bengals, you had to be playing at one of those 2 big offshore sports books, those names I will not mention, but you're smart. You know who I'm talking about. Those sports books where the favorites are always an extra half point to maybe a point heavier when the public is coming down on them. It happens every single game, practically every single day. Again, you can figure it out yourself. It's why I've always been a proponent of having at least 2 sources, whether you're in Vegas, whether you're dealing with Joe and Dan and your local bookies in the neighborhood, or whether you're playing offshore, because some books are always going to be more heavily weighted in the favor of the favorites. And in those cases, when you're on the underdog, you don't have to buy that half point. There's no money out there because you would have gotten an extra half point on Cincinnati last night, no ifs, ands, or buts. Doesn't it make sense? Again, it's something you should always consider. I've always had 2 sources since, my God, since the 90s. Back in those days, I was living in Atlanta and still had a bookie in Atlanta and had a bookie in Philadelphia. And when I was in Philadelphia, I had one in Atlanta as well with guys I worked with. So I always went back and forth. We'd run numbers every Saturday and Sunday morning once the books open. Oh, do you remember those days, guys? If you don't, do you realize how wonderful you have it nowadays where you can simply log on if you're offshore morning, noon, and night and place your bets? And those days, Typical Saturday morning college football, you had to wait till your bookmaker showed up in the office at 10:30 to 10:45 before he'd even answer the phones. Things have certainly changed. Anyway, let me get to the highlighted play today. Listen, Scott Delaney cashed in last night with a 100-dime play, of course, on the Cincinnati Bengals. That's important for one reason, and I'm going to tell you what it is in just a second. Listen, today, one of the featured plays is Matt Rivers with his highest rated play. Blank check, waive the rating, opening bowl lock. This is his first blank check bowl release so far this postseason. He went 8-3 with them last year, capping the postseason with Ohio State taking care of business against Baylor. Actually, they beat Oregon well enough. They could have beaten Baylor probably by 100 last year. Anyway, it's the North Carolina-Baylor game at 5:30 Eastern Time. It matches the biggest college play he's ever had in his 13-year-plus tenure here as a charter member of the site. Why it has any relationship with Scott Delaney is because Delaney, who has his 100-dime college football winner, number 11 out of 15 going today, he is on the same side as Matt Rivers. And you get Matt Rivers for half price simply by using coupon code BLANK, B-L-A-N-K, blank, B-L-A-N-K. Lots of other promos. Brad Wilton with his third straight 100-dime bowl winner on the late game between Nevada and Colorado State, and 100-dime winner number 11 out of 14 overall from a guy who has made $10 bettors a little over 30 grand over the past 5.5 months. Not too shabby. And FYI, there's another heads up for you. Anthony Red, who has won 25 of his last 38 college football releases, has his 75-dime winner number 24 out of 34, and is it fifth? It's his fifth in a row in college football. Same side as the game as Brad is on in Colorado State and Nevada. And you can save $60 on that purchase price by using coupon code 100DIMES. 100DIMES. All your other coupons, including the charity play. Well, no, actually, let me take that back. The charity play was the early game, the total between California and Air Force. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Let me get to your complimentary plays. I'll start with the bowl games. Of the two bowl games, Colorado State is my favorite of the two. Just in case, again, you happen to be on Jeopardy next week, keep this in mind. This is the first the first time in postseason bowl action where you've had two teams from the same conference meeting in a non-playoff bowl situation, meaning not for a BCS title, not in the Final Four, and the first non-playoff meeting since 1979 when Nebraska played Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. Of course, that game's going to be a little better than the Colorado State-Nevada game here this evening. Listen, Mike Bobo, very strong year. You know, he lost a lot of talent when he took over the Rams this season. But he did very good in his rookie season. 7 wins in a bowl year. You can't complain about that. Both these teams, of course, in the Mountain West Conference. Colorado State, 11-2 all-time in the series, 2-0 since these two teams joined the same conference. Nevada, of course, runs that pistol attack. They are one of two teams in college football to have a pair of 1,000-yard rushers. The other, again, in case you happen to be on Jeopardy, that was Southern Mississippi. James Butler running for 1,153 yards. Don Jackson running for a little over 1,000. And, of course, let's keep in mind that Colorado State was ranked 107th in college football this year at stopping the run, allowing 4.9 yards per carry. That is going to be an issue. Colorado State, of course, is the better passing team. They run the ball effectively as well, but Bobo did a nice job. Remember, Bobo, a former University of Georgia quarterback in his playing days, did a very nice job developing sophomore Nick Stevens. He threw for over 2,300 yards, 21 touchdowns. That's best in the Mountain West Conference. You know, Colorado State, I think, is a more potent offense. They average a little over 30 points and 417 yards a game. Nevada has just done miserably in the bowls. 1-5-1 against the spread in their last 7 bowl outings. In fact, they've lost 3 straight in 7 of their last 8 bowl games overall. I just can't have a lot of faith in the Wolfpack. This is a team that lost at home to UNLV, lost at 2-10 Wyoming. They blew a 20-point lead at Utah State. You know, Colorado State, this is a team that I think is going to be able to put points on the board because Stevens is protected by an outstanding offensive line, only allowed 14 sacks on the season, and the Rams can run the ball as well, 4.8 yards per carry. So I'm going to go with Colorado State in this one. I'm going to lay the 3 points, and you guessed it, I'm going to buy down that half point on the Rams. Now, LSU and Texas Tech. Listen, you analyze this game, it's pretty damn simple. Leonard Fournette denied even an invitation to the Heisman ceremonies, God knows how. He's going to have a monster game. 1,741 yards in 11 games this year and 18 touchdowns against one of the absolute worst all-time rushing defenses in college football. Okay, this is a Texas Tech defense that was ranked 126th in the nation. I think only Kansas was worse. Okay, this is a team that gave up 271.8 yards per game on the ground. So Leonard Fournette's going to have a big day, and he better have a big day, because when you have a quarterback as lousy as Brandon Harris, well, that's one of the reasons Les Miles was almost fired. Did Les Miles save his job with that final game home win against Texas A&M after losing 3 in a row? Yes, he did. Did Brandon Harris help him at all during those final 4 games of the season? No, he did not. His quarterback rating was under 35 in each of the last 4 games of the season. And that 4-game stretch, LSU averaged just 16.8 points a game. Now, we know Texas Tech is going to put plenty of points on the board. They've got Patrick Mahomes, of course, number 2 passing attack. He directs in the nation. This is a guy who threw for over 4,200 yards, 32 touchdowns, averaged 357 yards a game. This is a Texas Tech team that also averaged total offense-wise 484 yards a game, because I think a lot of people don't realize that Texas Tech can also run the ball effectively. DeAndre Washington, 1,455 yards this season and 223 carries, which shows you that they do run the ball, and they have so many possessions they can afford to run the ball. So it all comes down to this. Is Texas Tech going to run away with this game? They could, but I'll tell you what. I go back to the Texas Tech game against Arkansas. Now, that was a big battle. You know, Brett Bielema of Arkansas and Cliff Kingsbury of Texas Tech, they don't like each other, and that was a big game for Texas Tech. But what they did in that game, they slowed down the tempo of their offense. Instead of looking like an offense that's on steroids, they slowed it down a little bit more. And the result was the offense was every bit as effective, but it also allowed fewer opportunities for Arkansas's offense to be on the field. And it also limited their defensive liability by keeping their own defenders on the sideline. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think Texas Tech is going to keep this one close. I think it's a 4-point game. So I'm going to ride with Texas Tech in this one. Again, I like Colorado State a little more, but I do like Texas Tech in this contest. Now let's talk college basketball. Kansas State is 13.5-point favorite tonight in Manhattan. They are 9-2 overall. The Wildcats are this season, including 6-0 at home. Their only losses coming by 10-point margins at Texas A&M and North Carolina. Nothing to be ashamed about there. St. Louis Billikens, it was just a couple of years ago. This team was what, a 27-win team and made it to the 3rd round of the dance. Last year they won 11 games. I don't know if they'll win 11 games this year. They're 5-6 so far. They've lost 3 in a row, 6 of their past 7. And this is also a team that's just a money burner in Vegas. 7-19-1 against the spread their last 27 non-conference games. In fact, they have only covered, I think, 13 of their last 51 games with a push along the way. That's how bad they've been in Vegas. Kansas State is a team, however, that although I'm giving you the Wildcats as the free play, I've got to tell you they have 2 strikes against them. One of, I think, Bruce Weber, one of the most mediocre coaches in college basketball. Never was impressed with what he did at Illinois. Certainly not impressed with what he's done with less talent in Kansas State, okay? The other thing is this Kansas State team cannot shoot straight. So consequently, what's happened the last few games, opponents have seen that, and all they've done is drop into the zone and dared Kansas State to shoot from the outside. I mean, their last game against North Dakota at home on last Tuesday, yeah, they won it 63-49. They only hit 22 of 58 shots. They were 7 for 24 from three-point land. So that's what's at chance and at risk here tonight when you lay the points with Kansas State. Yet, I just don't see much in St. Louis, so I'm going to lay the points with Kansas State. Your other complimentary play, I'm going to go with Texas Southern, plus 20.5 points. Actually, you know what, guys? I just realized that game starts at 3 o'clock Eastern time, so you are not getting the free play on Texas Southern. I did like Texas Southern, so let's see if Texas Southern comes in. But it just dawned on me today, tomorrow, of course, the rest of this week, you have so many games earlier in the day. It's such a strange thing, so instead, let me substitute a game for you. Here's a 5 o'clock Eastern time tip-off. Richmond getting the 5 points at Texas Tech. Yes, Texas Tech is 9-1 on the season. Their lone loss coming by 10 points at Utah. But let's keep this in mind. This is a Texas Tech team that in the preseason picks, they were selected to be last in the Big 12 this season. This is a team that wasn't that good last year, but they are off to a 7-0 start at home. This is a Richmond team. They beat Northern Iowa to start a 4-game winning streak. They also beat California. They beat Wake Forest. Richmond is a veteran team that's not going to be afraid to going into Lubbock, Texas here today. Plus, how many fans are going to be that concerned with this particular game when their Red Raiders are playing football against LSU a few hours later? I got to go with Richmond plus the points for your final complimentary play. That'll do it, guys. Best of luck to you all, and I'll catch you again tomorrow when we do this one more time.